Hi, good afternoon. My name is Pat McCracken. I'm a volunteer here at the Rocky Mountain Raptor program. And if you're looking at us, you are participating in our Wednesday afternoon virtual program. And we're actually now on YouTube, which I'm really keen on. So if you're viewing this, you can search for us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel, and you can see all the things we post on YouTube. So we'll be here every Wednesday for our virtual program, and all of our virtual programs will be on YouTube from now on. So we're a rehab education and research organization in Fort Collins, and we're called the Rocky Mountain Raptor program. And I'm here today with a Swainson Hawk. She is a 24-year-old Swainson Hawk. She came to us as an immature bird many years ago. She had gotten into a altercation with a car outside Cheyenne, Wyoming, and she crashed into the car, and she lost the sight in her left eye and the hearing in her left eye, and she also really banged her head, so she had head trauma. So she was brought to us, and we rehabilitated her, but she was not anywhere near capable of surviving on her own. Swainson Hawks, right now it's now January, and Swainson Hawks are very happy down in Argentina. They're a migratory bird. They're a soaring hawk, and she's going to have supper because she hasn't had it yet. So, would you like to have a little supper? She's a soaring hawk, and during the summer, she mates and raises a clutch of birds up here, and she lives like a redtail. She eats small mammals, and then when fall comes, she gets the urge to migrate, and she joins a flock out east of in eastern Colorado, and by the hundreds, these guys gather in flocks, and they fly to Argentina to spend our winter, their summer, and she completely changes her diet. She becomes a insect eater, and she stays down there and eats grasshoppers, which is really cool. And this little girl is just a marvel to work with. We have little windows that when we go out and check the birds, we check the birds every morning when we come in, and then we take care of them. And then before we go home, we check the birds to make sure they're okay. So we have this little window, and we open them up just enough not to disturb the bird, just to check and make sure they're all right. And what she does is that she will scream at us. She is incredibly vocal, and it could be because she doesn't see as well. She wants you to let you know that she's there, but she will break your eardrum. She has got such a scream, and I hope you get to hear it. It won't be very pleasant for me, but you might enjoy it. Woski. So she is, let me make sure she takes care of that. So today what we're going to talk about are the incredible adaptations that birds make to survive the winter. Now this little girl, the Swainson Hawks don't typically spend the winter in Colorado, but since she's an educational ambassador with us, she has spent every winter for her whole life here. Although she doesn't live in the wild, she lives here in her enclosure, which is quite a nice enclosure. So she's had to adapt to Colorado weather, even though her typical food supply is not mammals during the winter, but she's adjusted because here it is January and she's eating a rat. This is a mouse. And so if you look at her body, it's football season. And you can see that her body is in the shape of a football. And it's incredibly good aerodynamic. It's a naturally aerodynamic shape. And it is playoff time. So if you've watched any of the playoffs, which I've watched a little bit of it, and if you watch some of the playoffs, you'll see those incredibly talented football quarterbacks. They'll take that football and they'll put their fingers next to the strings, and then they'll throw it, starting a spiral on the football, and that football will go 60, 70 yards in the most aerodynamically perfect way. And so that's what birds are. Birds are aerodynamically really well shaped, and all of their bodily functions are up in their torso. So all of her major organs and such are up in her upper body. And for the winter, she is protected by these beautiful feathers on her wings. They protect her from the wind and the snow, and it's like a waterproof overcoat. And so she's very well protected. And underneath, during the winter, she grows an extra layer of down. And inside that down are these incredibly small structures inside the down that accumulate air. So each one of her feathers are surrounded with muscles and nerves, and she can control all of her feathers. So if she gets cold, she can open up her feathers, and that down gathers a little extra air, and she can hold that air. It warms up really quickly next to her body. She's got a temperature of 106 degrees, so she's trying to keep that temperature constantly. And so at that temperature of 106 degrees, she doesn't feel the cold quite as badly as we do. But when it gets really down below zero, a bird really needs to manage their thermal. They really need to manage how they're staying warm. So her principal way of staying warm is her feathers and her down. So she's doing it just like we do at night with our blankets. But if it gets really cold, she first off, as I mentioned, she needs to eat a lot because she's burning a lot of calories to stay warm. We actually feed them. We have two feeding schedules. One is for summer and one is for winter. So we'll feed her more in the winter because she needs more calories to keep up her energy and to keep her warmth. So so all of if you notice that her feet here, these are her feet. She's actually standing on her toes. And so her feet, if you imagine our feet are lateral to the ground. Hers are vertical to the ground. So her feet and her toes are primarily tendons and bone. There's very little tissue, very little muscle or anything down there that can freeze. So all of the muscles, all of those powerful muscles that control her hunting talons, that she uses to capture her prey with, are up near her body, so they can stay warm. Which is a great it's a great solution. They don't have. If you look at us, we have these big. I'm not saying you guys, but I have these big fat legs. Lots of tissue in my legs, so my toes get cold. Her toes don't get cold because she doesn't have any tissue in them. So that's another way. And if she gets really cold, her body naturally redistributes where the blood is going to. So she will send, if she's really cold, she'll send less blood to her skin and to her extremities, into her wings and her legs, and she'll send more blood to her internal organs so that they stay warm and they're able to process the food she's eating to get the energy for the calories she's burning. So she's got a really cool system of adjusting her blood supply. But the really fascinating one is, and I really love it when humans learn from nature. I retired from NASA, and I worked on the space station and the space shuttle for 30 years, and now I get to work with these beautiful guys. And we cool the space station exactly the same way that she heats her feet. It's the same system. I don't know who developed the system, but they have a lot of modules on the space station, and they have water pipes piping through the modules, and they go through the galley, and they go near the experiments where they have furnaces, and they're creating a lot of heat because they're insulated, so they're creating all of this heat, and they have to get rid of it somehow. So they have two fluids that they use to cool it with. One is water, and that's very easy It's not dangerous to anyone, and they pipe water through the modules, and then they take them through. They take them through these spots where they interact or they come close to other pipes that are piped to the outside of the space station that are filled with ammonia. And ammonia is very dangerous. So there's no way the ammonia can get on the inside of the space, because it would kill the crew. But the cold water, but the hot water, the warm water that's been warming inside the modules, goes next to the cold ammonia, and it heats up the ammonia, and then the ammonia goes out into the space along the truss system, and it dissipates the heat. It does a cycle and it comes back in. It's cold, and it does this cycle of what you call countercurrent. Well, she has countercurrent just like that. It's really quite amazing. So the blood supply that's coming out of her heart, which is full of blood, is coming down her legs, and it's coming down into these feet. And as it's coming down, it's really warm. It's 106 degrees. So it would be really dangerous for her to have a blood supply that's going into the open air. It's like leaving a window open. It would just rob her body of all of this heat. So instead of having that negative flow of heat out of her body, her feet her toes are sending blood back. That's cold blood. It's not freezing blood, it's just cold blood. And as they pass each other, just like on the space station, as they pass each other, the warm blood cools down and the cold blood warms up, so that by the time it gets to the body, to the core body, it's warmer and it doesn't shock the bird. And the blood supply that's going to the toes and to the feet and the toes gets colder, and it stays just warm enough so that the feet don't freeze. It's not keeping the feet warm. And that's how, when you're walking out and you're walking around the lake one day and you're watching a duck walk on ice and you're thinking, now wait a minute, it's wintertime. How in the world does that duck walk on ice? Well, it's called countercurrent, and it's an exchange system of the blood supply that keeps their feet just warm enough not to freeze. And since there's very little tissue down there, it's mostly bone and tendon, it doesn't need to be really warm. And so the bird has resolved that problem of keeping their feet. Of course, they can always just sit down on their feet, and she's got a very warm tummy, and she can always just sit down on her feet and warm them up. But that doesn't work when they're very active. So those are the cool things that birds use to be able to survive in the winter. So next spring, you'll be able to see these guys come back and on their normal schedule, and the Swainson Hawks will come back in May, in the May time frame. So that's my talk for today. I would like to remind you guys that a month from now, February 20th, we have our annual fundraising auction. This is our 28th year of the auction. And this is the first year that we haven't done a big party, so because we can't. So we're going to do a virtual party. It's going to be on YouTube. And right now you can go to our website, and you can log onto our website under news, and you can look at the auction items that are already there. There's lots of beautiful pottery. There's lots of beautiful pictures that are framed. Some are bird related, some are just gorgeous. And so there are lots of things that people have donated to us as a fundraiser. So go there and sign up and participate in the auction. It'll be live on Facebook on February 20th. So please join us. And so we'd appreciate your support. We're completely dependent on support from folks like you. So join us next Wednesday on Facebook. Join us next Wednesday on YouTube. You can go to YouTube and search for Rocky Mountain Raptor Program and subscribe so you can see all our videos. And another day when you come back, you can see our Swainson Hawk for another Swainson Hawk here. Isn't she a beautiful girl? She's a lovely girl. I'm sorry you didn't get to hear her scream at you. Thank you very much. See you next Wednesday.